WoW lead responds. The war on add-ons continues. Blizzard broke the game on purpose, and Ian just told us why. Oh no. Okay, let's see what's going on here. We already know all these add-ons are coming in. They're trying to remove combat add-ons. That's the main attack here. Your aesthetic add-ons that you love, how they make your UI look, those are going to remain. But anything that's to do with combat, Blizzard's getting rid of that shit. We're talking DBM, we're talking DPS meters, alerts, cooldown managers, things like that. Let's see why Blizzard is intentionally breaking the game.
I don't want to surprise you, but people might be just a little bit excited for player housing. You see, the PTR stress test was 3 days late, and still, immediately it destroyed the servers. But to be fair, that was basically Blizzard's plan all along. It was a stress test. A little bit similar to the add-on wars that are still happening online. People are still afraid of an add-onless world in WoW, and Ian addressed this in part of an interview. So, overall today, we have a lot to talk about. There's all of that. There's also a new alpha build. So, lots of things, but first I have a warning for you, and that is on housing. But first, a huge shout out to my top boys over in the UK government, because now I get even more value for my subscription to today's sponsor, NordVPN. Because using the internet in the UK somewhat sucks right now, but with Nord, I just set my location a few miles down the road to Ireland, and then I'm fine. But the Online Safety Act is not the only reason why I use Nord. Sure, there's the heaps of security.
The Online Safety Act, yeah.
Streaming libraries for other nations.
Identifying yourself on the internet.
Aren't available here because of GDPR, and I can exploit regional pricing, and that's the spicy one, because you can basically turn the dynamic pricing, which is often used by airlines and car rental companies, against them and save loads of money, which actually makes NordVPN pay for itself. And at nordvpn.com/BellularWarcraft, you'll get 4 months for free on a 2-year plan that's backed by the 30-day money-back guarantee. And now, Nord are actually more than just a VPN. Threat Protection Pro is built into their app, and it gives you extra layers of security that cover
Bell's
malware,
ads are always like
phishing,
lower
and
volume than
loads of
his
attack
actual
vectors
video.
that are commonly used in scams or data collection. It's all made simple with the desktop and mobile apps.
Yeah,
so
no better games. You're stuck with us. I agree.
For free in a 2-year plan.
WoW's the best game.
NordVPN.com/BellularWarcraft.
All right,
the good
let's get
news
back
is
to
the
it.
housing test went well for World of Warcraft's production team, but not necessarily for those of you who are actually playing it. It was 3 days late, it ran over the weekend, and even with that starting delay, they still weren't really ready, not even close. The massive extra demand.
Man, is this a sign of things to come? Like, is this launch going to be a shit show? You know what it is, though, too? Like, the pre-orders of the Epic Editions, what it's essentially done for Blizzard is it's allowed them to kind of, soft release the game. I don't know how many people or what the numbers would look like for how many people actually purchase the Epic Edition versus the regular edition, but that 3-day early access does allow them to lessen the load on the servers, if you think about it. So that's probably a big reason why they do it, honestly. So hopefully we won't have this shit going on where the world servers are down for the entire launch day.
The PTR server caused WoW to straight up break. And by break, I mean the PTR and the alpha were falling apart in ways that were kind of exciting, because we've never really seen them before. The Stormwind portal room got walled off for some reason, instances stopped existing, the world server kept crashing. Now, credit to the Warcraft team, it wasn't that long before things got running all right. I imagine that's the whole objective of their stress test. It basically took most of a day to get there, and when people did get on, they learned something kind of important, and that's that housing is goddamn incredible. Yeah, people are in love with it already. They're posting creations for the world to see,
it's
and
unbelievable.
I have loved just...
Look, as somebody who didn't ask for housing, somebody who never wanted housing in the game, I didn't think it was something we needed. Blizzard's implementation of housing is actually freaking cool. Like, the stuff that I've seen people build, and we looked at it yesterday, like the big fort and all that shit, the stuff that people are building in the game right now and probably will continue to build down the line, it's insane. The amount of customizations that you could do. I mean, I saw a video on Twitter just yesterday of somebody that made an obstacle course where you could jump from item to item and you're like going up their tower. Like, this is like Fortnite or Roblox level customization. People are going to be able to make fucking mini games out of this shit. It's pretty crazy. Maybe something coming like that in WoW. Who knows? But like I said, their implementation of player housing, and I've never played player housing in any other MMO, is the best I've ever seen.
And I have loved just
it's a
looking
sandbox
at Twitter
in WoW,
these
yeah.
days. That's kind of new. But it's still more than a little buggy, I'll say. You see, in spite of Blizzard claiming it was fixed, the first thing one of my guildies did was steal another person's house. Yeah, The whole thing, because they, by accident, well, took their claim. So that's kind of fun. Plus, there was...
No, it's just WoW players being... If WoW players can do something to break the game, they will do the thing that breaks the game. That is a guarantee. It's just like, we just roaches. We always find the shit that breaks everything. It's freaking hilarious. So people were stealing each other's houses. Nice.
Also disconnection loops going on and people getting stuck in their houses, but thankfully lead producer Zorbic said that the damage was all very helpful and that all the crash reports and server data are very valuable. Now, if you missed out on the PTR test, basically don't worry. This test being cut short means Blizzard probably wants to do more tests, but maybe implement some fixes based on what they've learned. So I think we can expect another test in the coming weeks because, let's be real, they will need all the data they can get to get ready for the launch, which is pretty damn soon in December. All the same, the actual launch of housing is, I would say, probably going to be a complete disaster for the first few hours, maybe the first few days. So consider this to be a warning. Brace yourself for an unplayable launch. But honestly,
you got to consider, like, player housing is probably the single biggest feature to be added to the game since what? Like, what else is comparable? Like flying? Flying in the game was like such a major deal for everybody. I don't know what else. Maybe Group Finder. I don't know. Some people consider to be Group Finder like a very bad add to the game. But either way, it's a major, major change. It's almost like a game within the game. So the fact that this was added in, it's going to be massive. December 2nd, the servers are going to be overloaded, no doubt. People who are interested in player housing are going to go in. People who don't give a shit about player housing are still going to go in and try it. It's going to be one of the biggest feature launches that World of Warcraft's ever had.
I'm excited enough that I will be there for the launch regardless. If you're concerned about the game being too tough without add-ons, don't worry, apparently. So, Ian admitted that that is one of their fears right now, and in a PC Gamer interview, the first thing that he said was this, that WoW is too hard, quote, out of the box. Obviously, out of the box is really what's doing the heavy lifting there. Basically, you can't really do mythic raids or high keys, so loads of people just don't. They either don't bother or they're forced to figure out add-ons. Now, Ian basically thinks that WoW needs to be playable out of the box. And you know what? I agree.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Development team is...
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You gotta lower the barrier to entry, no doubt. World of Warcraft is an intimidating game for anybody who's not used to MMOs. Now, as far as MMOs, I've always said World of Warcraft is a noob's MMO. Like it was the MMO that, what is it called? Genericized MMOs as a franchise or as a game genre, right? It was considered to be the easiest version of what an MMO can be. But still, anybody who's like typical, your Call of Duty bros or your Madden bros, shit like that, like they look at something like World of Warcraft, they don't know what the fuck to do. They don't know where to start with this shit. And part of it has been add-ons in the past. Like, yes, even somebody who's used to PC gaming, you tell them about downloading add-ons for World of Warcraft, and they're like, what? I got to go get this other software. Can I trust this thing? Yeah, you could trust it. Why? I don't know. I've been doing it for years. You got to go download this thing and that thing to be able to run this thing in the game properly. That always felt like a janky thing to tell somebody to do. So, yes, getting rid of add-ons at a base level. Not getting rid of the customization that it brings maybe to your UI or something, but getting rid of it as a base level, meaning it's not necessary for combat anymore, is a good thing for the health of the game. And yeah, maybe Blizzard wants to bring WoW to console. I know people are going to say that, and yes, that might be true too. But I think lowering the barrier to entry is a good thing for the overall health of the game.
Got a difficulty mode, then you should be able to, play that difficulty mode with the default UI, right? I mean, come on, that's just completely reasonable. That's how a game should be. But obviously, it's not been that for WoW. This requires a lot of change, and, yeah, obviously, a lot of people are spooked. Ian also admitted something genuinely shocking here, and that is that the Midnight class changes are a little rushed, which is quite something.
I have an honest question for chat. How many of you guys started playing this game maybe like in the last 3 expansions, like BFA? How many of you guys have started playing World of Warcraft in BFA or sooner? Because I wonder, like, how many new players have been coming into this game, or is it just like, honestly, it's all these classic Andys who've been playing since Wrath of the Lich King or sooner? Dragonflight Season 1 for you, Cadence. I started back at the end of Legion, start of BFA. Yeah, you know what? Legion probably did bring a lot of players into the game, if I had to think about it. BFA, but then playing Kata on private. Interesting. You became a classic Andy? You started playing classic servers afterwards? You playing private Kata servers? Since '04 here, yeah, I mean, that's me. Since 2005. I started in BC, TBC. I started in Legion. WAD. Oh, end of WAD. Interesting. That's an interesting. That was probably the lowest point of the game in terms of content. But I guess if you had just started playing, you had things to do. No, played private servers first. Oh, then shifted to retail. Okay, got it, got it. Yeah, I wonder if private servers have brought a lot of people into the game. Started back in 1994. I mean, in high school playing Warcraft on my own PC. Okay, yeah, we gotta. I was first, Andy, out here. Fib 1994. Okay, yeah. There's a little mix. I guess a decent amount of people. It seems like Legion has brought a lot of people into the game, and there's been a trickle effect of people coming in every other expansion. But I would say the majority of people who play this game probably started in Classic or in Vanilla, Wrath, or BC. It's probably when the majority of this player base started playing the game.
Thing to say. Basically, they only started over the last few months as a response to the add-on removal. So to me, this feels like an old startup adage that essentially you are building your airplane after you have jumped off the cliff. And it basically turns out Blizzard are kind of playing this whole thing by ear, feeling it out as they go, and I think that explains a lot about how messy everything can feel. Now, we've got class coverage coming up soon, and we'll be able to show you what we mean by that. It is, at the very least, interesting. Anyway, Ian more or less admitted that WoW is too hard at the high end. Of course, that makes a lot of sense given the add-on stuff. And from our experience doing the available alpha content, which obviously is limited, I would say they're actually sticking to their word here. And that's the real good news for the game. Boss mechanics are way more obvious to solve.
Better.
You are given more time to react when you're targeted by something. Mob packs seem to have fewer dangerous casts to kick. It's all...
Yeah, a lot of people like who said like, oh, they're removing add-ons, I'm going to quit the game because I can't play this game without add-ons. And the truth is, you're right, but you're also wrong. Because the game as it currently exists is not what they're going to be expecting you to play without add-ons. They're changing everything. They're changing how boss fights work. They're changing how your own class works. They're simplifying a lot of things because it's the over-complexity of the game that has required add-ons to be downloaded. Because it's become so overly complex that no single human can monitor all the shit we have to monitor without add-ons. So what did they do? They said, yeah, sure, we're going to remove add-ons, but we're also going to remove all that complexity, the reason basically that you downloaded add-ons in the first place. So anybody who jumps off a cliff saying, well, WoW is dead, I'm out of here, whee! Yeah, calm down, man. Just try the new version of what they're trying to do here, and then decide if you want to quit or not, because it's not the same version as what you're playing right now.
Well, quite good, honestly. And that goes along with what Dylan Barker told PC Gamer. Now, if you're not aware, Dylan is a lead combat designer, and he explained that they have 3 types of mechanics: strength, dex...
No one stopped, don't believe that. That's also true. I think I've had some people on my YouTube channel now telling me they're going to quit the game for 4 years in the comments section of every video that I post. And they're still here clicking on YouTube videos for a while and playing the game. That's true. The threat to quit is just, it's a community thing. Everyone loves to do it.
Dexterity and intellect. So strength tests your DPS, dexterity tests your ability to move and react, and intellect tests your coordination. Now, because people used add-ons to basically cheat the intellect challenge, like knowing where to take a bomb, for one example, they basically had to change things. Now, over the years, they tested your DPS and your reaction times more and more. And now they basically feel more comfortable slowing the game down again and asking you to think a little bit more.
Great.
So, Midnight is a very different World of Warcraft, and so far, I'd say it could be a much better one, actually. At the end of the day...
Also, I feel like it'll be more immersive. Like, the game will feel more like you're playing in a fantasy world, rather than having 36 UI elements and 17 horns going off and a girl moaning in the background to tell you got to get out of the fire. Like, I don't understand. I've watched some streams, and I've said this before. I don't understand how people find that to be enjoyable. There's, like, so much shit on their screen, you can't even see their character anymore. There's, like, no way to see anything that's going on in the game. They're literally just playing a UI elements game at that point. So I think it'll be more enjoyable when all that screen clutter is gone. The mechanics just depend on you actually playing the game yourself and doing things yourself. I think it'll create a more enjoyable experience than what this crazy bloat of shit that we currently have.
Ian said it should be about the same difficulty, so if you're used to playing the game without add-ons, maybe you're just a total mensch, and the game will be easier for you. And if you're a super heavy add-on user, then you might have to do some readjusting, and crazy things like looking at the actual game instead of looking at your UI, which I can certainly say was quite the challenge for me whenever I moved from World of Warcraft over to FF14 a while back. Speaking of Midnight then, Alpha Phase 3 is out and it is full of changes. The biggest is the cooldown manager, which now supports the pandemic window for debuffs. That's fairly huge, it basically makes that playable. You'll now get a visual and an optional sound when it's time to refresh a debuff as well.
And by the way, this cooldown manager that you see right here on the screen and like all the features that it has, it's like every week now, every single Tuesday, Blizzard's been adding shit to it. It's like I've reported on it every single time. The patch notes constantly say more abilities have been added to the cooldown tracker, more sounds have been added to the cooldown tracker, more features added to the cool. They keep adding to this thing, and that's the great thing is I think they're going to continue to iterate on these things like at a rapid pace. These add-ons are I should say replacements are they're getting better every week. That's a great thing.
So, pretty good stuff. Now, the box is a horrible placeholder right now, but basically, if you were worried as a dot class, then, well, you may not need to be because this does make the game completely
It's a great
playable.
spot for the dot
There is one major disappointment, though. Yeah, a disappointment. They've started to add the tier bonuses, and basically, they're a repeat of Dragonflight Season 1, which is to say, they're fairly simple. Now, I will say there is a reason for that. Classes are changing so drastically in this expansion that they basically want to play it safe with the tier sets.
Yeah, this makes sense. The amount of class changes that are happening this season are, for the first season of Midnight, are absolutely insane. They're going to have to balance this shit like crazy. It's going to be a shit show. I'm telling you right now. It's going to be an absolute shit show. The start of the season's not going to be the greatest, and that's because they've made so many changes to so many classes that it's going to take some time for them to balance everything out. So to add set bonuses on top of that are dramatically changing anything would have been like a big ask. So I was not excited about these. You guys remember when we reviewed these on stream? I was like, what? We're just getting like basic DPS pumps to all of our sets. That's it. But I do understand it, thinking about it from a holistic point of view, that like, okay, they just wanted to limit the amount of shit they got to balance right now because there's going to be a lot in Season 1. And the good thing is probably Season 2, by the time they kind of figured things out a little bit, we'll get cooler set bonuses.
Totally understand that. Some early feedback would suggest they're playing it too safe. Your bonuses in Midnight are essentially just basic percentage boosts to certain abilities. Some of them reduce cooldowns, which at least you'll feel, but otherwise they're not really that fun. I suppose their theory is that playing a whole new expansion will perhaps make up for it. Now, there's also been a fairly huge controversy here. You know we love those. Okay, damage meters, they're in. They don't actually work, but we can get them to show up in the UI. And the problem is they've got effectively zero options. They show damage done, they show healing done. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is the alpha. Change. Yeah. So in future alphas, or, by launch, there may be way more features to this. But Blizzard actually does need to be careful here. They really do need to get this right. And that's because damage meters are actually for more than just managing DPS. They've evolved to track interrupt usage, damage done to individual mobs, deaths, and of course to track where incoming damage.
Interrupts, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, all these things. There's a lot of things people use DPS trackers to use. But I'll be honest, the DPS meter replacement is the thing that I am most confident that is going to be an improvement to the game. That when Blizzard does it themselves. Because Blizzard has access to the totality of data going down. If you guys remember, and I've said this before, when Evokers got added to the game, it broke DPS meters. Right now, if you're in a boss fight, if you're doing Sal Hadar, and you split on two different platforms in that fight, or if you guys remember Razageth, where you'd split, that it breaks the DPS meters because the way that the access that the add-on makers have to the data doesn't go deep enough to be able to track people on opposite sides and different platforms. So it always breaks the meters at that point. The good thing is that won't happen anymore. Blizzard makes the game, they have all the data, and their meters will be more accurate than anything we currently have. They just got to get all the data in. That's going to be the thing, is getting all this shit in that was previously done through the DPS meters. But once they get all these features in, it'll be better than what we currently have.
Damage is coming from.
This is the one thing I'm excited for most.
While in a simpler game we may not need those things as much, I would say losing all of that in-game functionality would be a massive blow to even just heroic progression guilds. I mean, obviously we could just go and check your logs, but it is handy to have it in an add-on. I mean, even in Manaforge Omega, the easiest to understand raid yet, we did kind of rely on details a few times to see what mechanics were actually killing people. Anyway, people are going to be mad about add-ons anyway, but the thing is, if Blizzard give them ammo in the form of putting something this insanely undercooked onto the alpha, then that will be a PR problem. And that is, Well, really, the big issue for Blizzard. I mean, good development would probably say, get that shit on the alpha early, get feedback as early as you can.
They do need to get this
up.
up.
The public relations side, well, it would say, if you put something in that's undercooked for the sake of getting feedback, people will
freak out.
then be able to use the fact it's undercooked as ammunition against you, which
True.
Blizzard obviously won't want. But do have some good news. Another alpha wave, another wave of add-on fixes, and this week they are working pretty hard on fixing some of the core problems we've had with things like our unit frames. Specifically, they're adding safe ways for add-ons to show health and power, and on top of that, they're solving the string problem. Let me explain. Now, add-ons are going to be able to actually manage things like, say, shortening a number and maybe even names. So as an example, if there's someone in your guild and you just want them to be called Big Chungus, maybe you'll be able to do that. So at least it would seem that all that feedback they're getting is actually working, but not on everything because they are still...
I'm assuming that racist or, this thing could go off the walls. Changing people's names.
Holding fast on a few things. Basically, the upshot is add-ons will still offer no realistic advantages. But if being able to manipulate how strings and numbers are displayed is something you do want, then this is very good news. Okay. Enough about the future. There's actually a few things happening in the game right now. It's safe to say Legion Remix has been quite the success. People seem to love it. People obviously love feeling overpowered. And at least taking a look at YouTube, man, people doing guides are really having their views pop off. And that makes me goddamn happy because what it shows is search volume. It shows that there's a lot of people who have some sort of need for guides and stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of people playing Legion Remix, and I could tell not just from YouTube views. Yeah, when I post Legion Remix videos, they've been doing pretty good, but also just the retail game right now. We went into it last week. There's fucking nobody queuing up for anything. And we just reviewed the numbers for Season 3 this morning. This week was lower in terms of participation on Mythic Plus than any week in this expansion or Dragonflight. The numbers have never been this low. So, yeah, I don't chalk that up to the War Within's a fucking shitty expansion, because the numbers have been completely fine. I chalk it up to Legion Remix is really fun, and I think everybody's playing Legion Remix right now.
That's a good sign for a healthy game. But not everything that's going on is good. As an example, we've had some fun power rollbacks. Basically, some farmable elites were giving away far more in power than Blizzard intended, so they've basically fixed that and they've done a wave of rollbacks. Yeah, you may have went to sleep, woken up, and been nerfed. Congratulations. So anyone who farmed that stuff to an extreme point is being rolled all the way back down to 10 million infinite power. Which is, in fairness, a lot of infinite power. It's actually double what the final achievement asks for. So ultimately, I'd say it's more of a slap in the wrist than anything else. And I'd basically say...
Yeah, getting into raids and everything has been tough in retail, I agree. But we did 2 raids yesterday in Remix. Those raids filled up to 30-man. And I know I'm streaming, so there's like that aspect of it, that my raids will fill up typically quicker. But they filled up, I would say, what was it? It would take like a minute, guys. I posted those queues and we literally had like 30 people. We had more than 30 people. I couldn't invite everybody in the queue in like a matter of 30 seconds. Those raids were filled out. That's crazy fast.
It's a fairly good response. It was well communicated, and it's a minor enough punishment that does actually feel right.
There you go.
The same also goes for dungeon teleports. Yep. Players were getting dungeon teleports for some of them after finishing their plus 20 runs in time. Now, since this wasn't intended, Blizzard disabled the achievement for a while, but a short while later, they realized that they were being the fun police. Yeah, they realized that, and they decided to change something. So they turned the achievements back on, so yeah, you can now go and actually do M+ properly if you want to. Pretty sweet. Now, there was also a rollback that didn't go quite to plan, which is always rough. Basically, when Remix dropped, a bug caused a bunch of people to have access to a bunch of druid forms that they shouldn't. Yeah, and that did include the unobtainable mage tower forms. A bit of a PR nightmare. That wasn't very good, and they finally gotten around to rolling those things back. Except
that's the worst,
they didn't do it properly. So some people have actually...
That's the worst. It's like telling your kids they can't have a cookie from the cookie jar, and like they cry about it, but then they finally get over it. And then you put a cookie in their hand, and just as they're about to bite it, you take it away and said, "No, bitch, I said you can't have no cookies." Oh, man, this was so bad. Whoever did this really caused a big headache for Blizzard, because it's like they they reminded everybody of how good those druid forms look and how you're not allowed to have them. And people had already cried and complained and gotten over it, and they cried and complained again.
Lost forms that they didn't earn. And yes, you did hear that right. So, if this happened to you, then apparently logging onto the druid that earned them and then checking your appearances in your order hall will fix the problem. Okay, next, Mythic Plus. It's had some major gearing changes. You see, before, you could skip dozens and dozens of hours of grinding by just getting carried. Now, you see, that's because Mythic Plus dropped fixed item level gear. So you could just get 4 absolutely juiced Gigapumpers. And, well, they could carry your fresh little newbie through, say, a plus 30. And then you'd get a bit of item level 675 gear, which was rather good, but not Blizzard's intended way to gear up. So now the fixed drops have been removed, but instead they drop way more motes instead. So that does actually make it a fairly worthwhile way to farm up those motes. Finally, for Remix then, the tank meta is being challenged. So DPS and healing specs are getting a flat 20% increase to all damage from their artifact.
I get they did this and it's supposed to help a little bit, but if you still look at, so this was implemented like last Tuesday. This has been a week now, and the numbers are still very much in favor of tanks. But I get what they're trying. They're trying. It'll help a little bit. And you know what? It's a remix event. Don't take fucking class balancing and shit too seriously. Just play whatever the hell you want. Play for fun. It's not a big deal.
Great. And on top of that, Dreadlord Supremacy is being shaken up. It's been a little bit nerfed, but the Arcane and Light trees are being massively buffed to try to compete with them.
I still see everyone using the Dreadlord
tree.
tree.
Even more changes to rebalance Remix along those lines, but they are basically going to do those for Phase 2's launch, which pretty much will be this week. Maybe even it will be out by the time you watch this video. Now, there's also a ton of other bug fixes and minor changes, like as an example, this fun one, which is kind of huge for anyone on alts or who is still not level 80. And that's because the first random dungeon you do each day will offer you a substantial chunk of bonus XP. Okay, that's it for the news this week. Legion Remix Phase 2 and Alpha Phase 4 will be dropping soon, so
Phase
obviously
2 today,
I'll be back with updates. And while you wait, did you know that elves are an absolute state? They are ridiculous creatures. They're basically the most dangerous people on Azeroth, and we're still picking up after their shit. Yeah, so this is a lore video. You should watch it here. It's really fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And you'll accidentally learn 20,000 years of elf history.
There it is. Yeah, nice video from Bellular. Fun stuff to cover. Yeah, add-ons. Add-ons will be a shit show at the start, but I do feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be better for the game. It'll be a healthier game and lower the barrier to entry for new players. Because yeah, as fun as it is to see players as decrepit as myself, I've been playing this game for 20 plus years, continue to play this game. If we want the game to continue for another 20 years, you got to have new players coming in. So I think lowering the barrier to entry is a great idea, and I think this will be a good thing in the end. A nice video from Bellular.